Thank you very much, Chairman of the Vetting and Vetting of Judges and Magistrates Board, Mr. Sharad Rao, for joining us in our studios. Probably let's just really talk about the basics of the Judges and Magistrates Vetting Board. Several issues have been raised. You've come at a time when the confidence of the judiciary was really lacking, and we've slowly seen Kenya's confidence in the judiciary rising up. What would you have to say about this vis-a-vis the job you have been doing?
Well, I think the whole idea behind the setting up of the vetting process was to restore confidence in the judiciary. And I think that we have to a great extent managed, not only to a great extent, I would say that we have wholly managed. And I think the fact that today the parties to the election, in the election dispute, are prepared to go to court, to go to the Supreme Court to have this great matter of great public interest and also to themselves resolved in court is testimony to that confidence has been restored in the judiciary.
Boiling down to this, your job has not been very easy in the process that you've been conducting vetting. A lot of issues have come up, challenges being faced by the board itself, and also external forces also casting aspersions on the board and its working mechanism. Probably let's first of all talk about the challenges that you have faced as a board, then we'll go on to external forces.
Well, I never expected the job to be easy, particularly when we are dealing with the board which consists of 9 people. 6 are Kenyans, 6 Kenyans from very varied backgrounds, and 3 foreign judges. So that to have the entire board, to have a consensus of the board in each of the determinations that we make, because our process is we started off as far as the Court of Appeal was concerned. We set as the entire board set on each one of those judges. After that, because of expediency, and that's what Parliament wanted to us to speed up the process, we then divided ourselves into panels of 3. But even when a panel of 3 interviews a judge and makes a recommendation, then it comes to the full board. Because we think it's important, we can't leave the future of a judge or magistrate to just 3 people deciding. People who have been in the judiciary for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It's a matter of life and death, literally, for them.
Let's talk about some of the controversial decisions, according to the public, that the board has made. There's the aspect of declaring judges unfit based on issues such as temper and such related issues, and boils down to how does someone's temperament affect their judgment, or what line does someone's personality affect their judgment to the long run?
All right. Temperament comes in that where people have found themselves before a court and the courts have been rather unjust, unfair to them, where they fear actually standing up in a court to address the court because they're being asked to sit down. Some have been committed for contempt of court, etc. Now a good example of temperament and lack of it, or how a court should exercise judicial temperament in a proper way, is what happened yesterday in the Supreme Court, where this one lady stood up and kept on standing up and kept on raising objections in spite of being told that she did not have a locus, that she ought not to be she ought to be sitting down and things like that. But you could see that whereas there was this momentary, you could see that some of the judges were now losing their cool, yet they did control themselves. All right. I'm
sure most Kenyans do not know about contempt of court, and these are matters that probably would arise just on the floor of the court and things like this. Yeah. How would you address these matters vis-a-vis the vetting process?
When we look at temperament, we look at it very, very carefully. It's not just one isolated instance or 2 instances or things like that. There has to be a pattern. There has to be a kind of pattern showing that this judge is being difficult with all who appear before her, you see, or him, as far as that's concerned. And that is what has happened, because if you keep people waiting from 9 o'clock in the morning till 3:30 and they're not allowed to say, even to get an indication from the magistrate or the judge whether the judgment is ready, they sit there from 9 o'clock till 3:30, and every time they attempt to stand up, they are shouted down and things like that. So this is the kind of behavior that we do not accept.
Probably in your final remarks, but would you advise those who have short tempers not actually to apply to get to the bar when matters such as this arise?
See, short temper I think it applies to both. It applies to those who are appearing before the judges and it applies to the judges themselves. I think, after all, we're all humans, and we can once in a while lose our temper. You see, when matters reach a situation where you can lose your cool. But if it's a repeated kind of thing, I think you've got to see, you may be a short-tempered person, but when you are in court, you should try and restrain yourself as far as possible. It can go to a point where you can understand why the judge lost his temper. You can understand why a counsel lost his temper. But those have to be very, very rare and in extreme situations. So they have to learn to control, they have to learn to behave, they have to learn to see that the people appearing before them, both litigants, lawyers, etc., don't come in fear. You saw the Supreme Court yesterday. They were friendly. They were joking, they were smiling away, they were laughing away. It has to be a friendly kind of an atmosphere, not atmosphere where you are really afraid to stand up, you're afraid to talk. That shouldn't happen. Particularly when you're a junior lawyer or a litigant who has no court experience, etc. It's important that you put them at ease.
Thank you very much, Em. Thank you.
Thank you.